Peace. What's happening, y'all? It's your favorite leather craftsman, the Leather Cowboy, right here. I'm tuning y'all in with something. This is that knife scabbard that I showed you guys in the video previously. And it dawned on me while I was getting ready to put all of my border cuts in. I wanted to do this quick video real quick. A lot of crafters, especially newer crafters, the biggest question is, how do we get our artwork to stand out and be so defined in the tooling? Not so much as how much pounding you do on your tools. When you properly case your leather, I use a spray bottle when I case because the mist spreads out a little bit more on the leather. And this is so important. A lot of crafters, newer crafters, don't put a lot of emphasis in on the importance of properly casing the leather. Now, in some cases, you'll see some crafters, they will case both sides. But if you have already taped one side of your leather to keep it from stretching and warping while you're tooling, you want to make sure that you saturate with the right amount of water. Now, one quick way to test to see if your leather is ready for stamping and cutting is once you case your leather, one, you want to let it fully absorb into the leather. And then you can take the back of your hand and you want your leather to be cool to the touch. If you saturate your leather too much, it'll still be wet. And when you get ready to tool, cut, and carve, your knives can definitely go way deeper than what they should, or your tooling can really, it just mashes up. The stamps and the prints are not as defined because it's too saturated. Now, on the flip side of that, if your leather is not, or if it's not damp enough to even start, your tools and your knives can start bouncing out. Your knife won't penetrate the leather as deep, so your cuts won't be as deep, and then that will affect your stamping. Now, when you're stamping and your leather is not properly cased, your stamps will have a tendency to bounce, or the impressions will not be as deep into the leather, and that when that leather starts to forgive, it can push your stamps back out. And the one thing that a lot of newer crafters don't fully understand is how much pressure to put into your cuts. Now, your cuts can definitely have an effect on your stamping work when you get ready to start backgrounding this or pushing it down. And one thing you can when you start facing resistance in your knife, it's kind of hard to pull your knife. Your leather is not damp enough. So we just recase that again. But so while this is getting prepped and ready, you guys can see how the water is being absorbed into the leather. You can just see this part right here where it's pooling. It'll start drawing up into that leather is drinking it. The leather starts to drag. It needs to be cased. Your leather will tell you what to do. If it's cutting through too fast and too deep, you have too much pressure and you're pulling it too fast. So basically you're cutting all the way through to the leather. Once you get the right amount of pressure and the right amount of depth, when you start to background and tool, this is what makes our artwork or our tooling work stand up into what you are wanting to do. You guys can see that right there. You can, but this is all a feel. So you definitely want to just take you some scrap pieces, and even here, just take you some scrap pieces and play around with a swivel knife. Then I'm going to show you guys a quick how you can know. See how that slides through there now? That slides through perfect. And then the amount of pressure and depth is just a feel. Once you keep doing it for so long, it commits to muscle memory and knowing what blade to use. Now, borders and things like that, I always use my square blade, and I'll show you guys my blade here and my knife. I always use my small square blade. Now, I use a small one. I used to use the big wide one that came with the barrel, but then I switched to these small ones here. You get the same effect, a deeper depth, and you can move a little bit more in small, tight spaces because the blade is not as wide. So we're going to cut this here. And by it being in a tight space, I have more room to pull and turn and curve without me having to do a whole lot of switching and changing. This here, I'm going to put a little design in this, simulate a basket weave. And be mindful of the pencils that you use. Go ahead and invest $7 in some drawing pencils. This one here, this is a Craft 2 Pro X2850. And this is a small basket weave. That's how that's going to look. Completely different from the carved basket weave. I'm not so much as worried about doing the outside border cuts. Not just yet. I want to go ahead and lay my foundation down with my basket weave stamps. This is going to be a lot of twists and turns. Take your time and really drive that stamp in there and give it that raised look. And this is a feel thing too, because you want to know just how much pressure to put on that stamp. And make sure you hold it so it doesn't double jump. Make sure you hold it in place, and that first hit is going to make it set, but the second one is going to drive it. Now, once you get to the end, just like I'm pretty sure you guys have seen on other crafters, you want to lean this tool so it doesn't put the stamp into your border. See, the impression is here, but it's not into my edge border. And then we're just going to keep doing that all the way up. Just lean that over and just give it an impression. And how we take our camouflage tool. Now, remember how we started along this way, so I want to make sure that we go this way. We're going to turn that tool, and then we're going to make it all mash together. Just mess it up before you commit. All right. Make sure that you keep that pattern flowing and going. Leather is forgiving to a degree, and you can mask and hide a lot of things, but you want to make sure that it's done correctly. Now, very simple, very cool. You guys can see here, but that's not a problem. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my camouflage tool, and that's exactly what it does. It camouflages and masks a lot of mistakes. So first thing I'm going to do is take my backgrounder, and I'm going to use my steep backgrounder, this one here, and you guys can see this is the steep Tandy backgrounder tool. So now I'm going to switch mallets, and I'm going to take this backgrounder tool, and I'm going to go right around. First, I'm going to case this again and let this case. So we are not in the business to rush. Now, business-wise, and I'm going to tell you guys about this for years of doing this. Fast work translates to cheap work. Always create or put it in the mind of you don't rush. Don't let the customer rush. I need this before I go out of town. Well, it's not going to be ready for you before you go out of town. When you're going out of town, after 2 weeks. Whatever the case may be, put a 2-week delay on all of your projects. That way is taking your full attention, and that translates to the customer that you do not do. Rushed work is not good. This is pretty much it for Cowboy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to finish up the video, but I won't do a whole bunch of talking through it. I'm just going to continue to do all the tooling work, and then get the outside borders and stuff designed, and get all of my stitching lines chiseled, punched in, and then we'll you guys will see the complete process from start to finish. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.